In this video, I'm going to show you how I design my concept art for a large project like this, and if AI can be trusted for the job. I'm also going to teach you how I get the digital colors to exactly match what I need in the real world when it comes to buying your art supplies. And lastly, I'm going to show you the tool that I use to transfer my artwork from design to wall so that all of the proportions are correct. If the unfinished artwork behind me wasn't clear enough, I've already done these 3 steps and I've been reaping the benefits of that in this job. So if you want to know how you can set yourself up for success, the ultimate guide in starting a mural, just keep watching. When it comes to designing, my process looks nothing like it used to when I went to school. This is what it looked like when I went to school. My teacher told us, have something you can actually work on, color on, break it into 6 different ideas because you've got so many swimming in your head. Then, once you have 6, narrow that down to 2. And then from here, find which one you really want to do and turn it into the real art piece. And while that's great and all, and now I have some really cool sketchbooks to show people, I hated that process. Nowadays, I use Procreate and I use my iPad when it comes to designing pieces. Take this piece, for example. I have quite a few layers. I have 2 layers dedicated to feathers, 2 layers dedicated to the sky and the highlights, another one dedicated to the watch, and then another to the background. And I'm sure if we pulled up the time lapse for this art piece, I went back and forth on color. Do I want a silver watch or a gold watch? How big do I want the feathers? Where do I want them? You can just easily move things around when they're digital. You don't have to draw, erase, oh no, maybe it was in pen. Like, I cannot emphasize enough that especially when you're in the idea phase, when you're really just trying to work it out, what do you want, how do you want it, you're not that committed to it, so just fully erasing something isn't that big of a deal. It's a lot easier to do digitally. After trying working in a sketchbook to come up with my concept art and then to working in Procreate, I figured, could we use AI? I was really curious to see if this could be like the 3rd level up on how to design your artwork. So I downloaded this app and it saved our conversation. So I can go back to the top. I'm telling you guys, this was the wildest ride. For this mural, I had 2 main ideas I was going back and forth on. One was the point of view of like if you were really tiny and walking through like a strawberry patch or something. If you could just walk through this really cool path and look up at like these massive strawberry plants. That was one idea that I had. So I first typed in, create a scene of what a bug's perspective is as they walk through a strawberry field. You know, at first it was just really just giving me close-ups of strawberries, which I guess, what else am I gonna say? And then there was this one. That's like a strawberry and a bug, but it gets worse. I was like, maybe I just wasn't specific enough. Yo, this is gonna be the last time I ask AI to generate that kind of, what is that? What is that? I mean, that is just a bug strawberry. I was horrified. From the little that I'm seeing here, we're just gonna scratch that and move on to my second one. I know I want a lot of pink in it because she's a girl and I like the girly things and I want it kind of be like magical with a little path. Again, keeping with the path, but maybe we'll make it more foresty. So I said, a path that weaves through a pink and yellow and green mystical land that is warm and inviting with large flowers, whimsical, enchanting, vibrant, and detailed. And this looks like maybe it would be like stained glass artwork. It gives me a very odd style. Like the style itself wasn't quite my cup of tea. So I was like, okay, we'll try to tell it that I want like a Disney artwork. So I said, field in the morning, full of cows in the style of Disney. I don't even want to begin to understand what is going on in these pictures. I mean, this cow doesn't even have a head. Not many of them have heads at all, and I tried again and it just got worse. So I just decided we're just not gonna do cows. Okay, clearly animals is not a good idea. We'll just stick to nature. And this is cool. Like, this is really cool. It even has castles in the background. I think it took Disney style and implanted a Disney castle, which I mean, it's kind of fun. So then I got really specific, and this is where some really cool pieces of artwork started to come out. My key phrase was a Disney style North Idaho landscape, because that is where we are. Wow.
Wow.
These pictures are beautiful. I love them so much. Clearly, I'm finally on the right track. In the end though, there ended up being 2 images that I heavily relied on for this mural. The first one being a really pretty path scene, and then the second being the clouds that I had gotten from a different picture. And at first, all looked great. This is awesome. I'll just throw a couple animals in here when I go back to my iPad. Obviously her wall is not a square, it's a rectangle, so I'll add some stuff on the sides and we'll be good to go. I was so wrong. I probably spent longer trying to fix it than if I had just really truly started from square one. For kicks and giggles, I will just have the time lapse start playing of how I took the original artwork and then how I started to change it and how I started to rework it. Obviously, as you saw, AI had no idea how to draw a cow. Like, this is not a cow. But what I didn't realize is that it actually didn't quite know how to do scenery. Scenery is just harder to pinpoint what's wrong. With a cow, you clearly know if it doesn't have a head. The flower, it actually took quite a bit of thinking because I'm like, okay, I know these are petals, but I actually don't know how these petals are connected to each other. The stones on the path, have I actually ever seen stones that lay like that? No, the answer is no, you haven't. And so I painstakingly went over every single piece of this painting. I had to redraw over it, and then I added some critters. I've got some grizzly bears, I've got an elk in the background, I've got some birds flying in the sky. The only thing I didn't heavily have to alter were the clouds, and honestly that's just because I don't know if I would be able to tell you what's wrong with them. They are the one thing that I think truly looks right in this picture. At the end of the day, it's just concept art. We have to get this onto a wall, and I have to figure out how to get these colors to match exactly, because believe me when I tell you, I've gotten it wrong before. I painted a different mural last summer on the ceiling of our RV, and it was like a night sky, so you could look up and be like, oh, stars, beautiful, you know, not just like RV boring ceiling. What I did is I took this concept art to Home Depot and I just started holding up my digital screen with backlighting to color swatches. Y'all, that was about the worst decision I ever made. I bought too much paint, and not only did I buy too much, I bought too much of the wrong colors. I started putting it up on the ceiling and I had to repaint over stuff that I was already starting. So this is the trick to getting digital colors to match literal colors on a wall. And after already starting on that one, I found that it works 99.9% of the time. And I'll go over that one caveat. I went to the Bear website and I just started searching and looking through their catalog of colors, and I just found the closest color matches that I could find directly from their website. And then once I found those colors, I started keeping track of them on my iPad. Once I knew the exact colors that Bear was able to create from their website, I then created a pickup order to my Home Depot. I put in all the colors that I wanted, the sheens that I wanted, and I just got a sample size of each of them. So yes, somebody who worked there did have to mix like 20 something colors, which is a little bonkers, a little insane. But at the same time, I've learned I don't want to be mixing colors whilst I'm doing a mural. I painted a picture from my husband and I's wedding most recently, and that was just like on a canvas. That wasn't an entire wall. But I found myself even on that having to remix color palettes over and over and over again. And you're gonna waste a lot of time, or at least I wasted a lot of time, mixing to get the exact shade that I had gotten previously. This is gonna solve that for you. It's pre-mixed, it's gonna keep good because you put the lid on it when you're not using it. And especially with a mural where I'm using so many different colors, I have yet to use anything more than what comes in those little sample containers. I forgot to include the like 0.1% of the time that this trick doesn't really work that greatest, so it's not completely foolproof, and I'll show you. And as I've been, you know, working on the clouds, this right here turned out a lot darker than it was supposed to. And it's simply because you can't always get a perfect color match. I mean, but that's to be figured. Obviously, they're not gonna have every exact shade that you ever used. I also noticed that some of these colors applied slightly darker, but then they would lighten as they dried. I'm pretty sure it's just because I couldn't get quite the right match on this one. So in the one-off case that one color doesn't work, then you would go back to getting your palette out and color mixing exactly what you wanted. But in my book, I would much rather do that with just one color instead of all of the colors that I picked up from the store. Back to your regular programming. So now how do you get it onto your wall? I've done the grid method. I'm not against the grid method. In fact, I did it on that wedding painting I was just telling you about a moment ago. But if you can, guys, get a projector. Now, it's not completely foolproof. In my case, my projector was able to adjust clarity of the image, but not necessarily overall size. And because the room that the mural is in is a pretty small room, I couldn't back up my projector like 20 feet to really blow up the image. So what I ended up doing is I broke my concept art into 4 different quadrants, and then I individually did one quadrant at a time transferring onto the wall. Now obviously the seam lines weren't exactly perfect, but the good news is this isn't like a geometric artwork that is hinging on right angles and perfect circles. It's a nature scene. Everything is very fluid. And so I was able to kind of fudge the lines in between where they didn't match up perfectly. Now obviously there are some projectors out there that don't rely on how far away they are to be huge or small. You can just change that in-house or in the machine. But the one that I bought is pretty affordable because I didn't want to be blowing a ton of money on a projector that I was really only going to be using for artwork. I like it. It's not the best thing in the whole world, but it's also not the worst. So I hope these tips help you. I know that they've really helped me, and I've had to learn the hard way as to why I'm doing the steps that I'm doing in the order that I'm doing them in. The mural I've been working on has been started, but it's not finished yet. Once it is, I'll have a YouTube video. If it's out by the time you stumble across this video, I'll have it linked. Otherwise, you can always check out my RV mural playlist. Thanks for watching, friends.